Today we're going to talk more about Bes.
And the Taming of the Beast. We're going to continue talking about the Ark of the Covenant and the ancient magnetic equator, and so much more. But we need to set a foundation for where we're about to go. So we're gonna go back to Bes and what Bes represents. I found this. I found this meme, and I just love what it says. If you change the way you look at things, the thing you look at will change. And I think that's so important, to keep an open mind, because as we sift through all this information, we're seeing things in totally different perspective, and it opens your mind, and it not only changes how you think, it changes how you experience your reality. And this is even, it's hard to explain, but it's really, it's opening levels of awareness to see things in different ways. It's not necessarily, I'm not saying it's all true, or it's, I'm just opening, the way I think about it, I'm opening my mind to all these unlimited possibilities, and it seems to take you on a journey that just is so incredible. It's an interaction with the universe. So let's get started. Back to the ecliptic pole at the center of Draco. And yes, I can't get enough of this because it's so important. So we'll start here. And here we see again, there's Bes and our hero, Horus. And they're centered at this point. This is what they symbolically represent. And it's the beginning and end of every breath. And Bes, again, I've mentioned this, Bes was once androgynous and at one time female. He is the great he, she. And you can see he faces the four directions. We've had this slide up before. But again, it's so important because this is where we get our cosmic serpent. This is our dragons. There are dragon mythologies and dragon mythology. There's just so much out there about, this dragon lore and dragon kings and serpent kings. And we've talked about the lion kings, and they're all related. The lion is related to Bes. They're all related to this pause, this moment when the earth comes back into its center. I bring this here because that centering, that pause in the sine wave pattern of life, the breath in and out, that we've spoken about so many times, this is also represented by Sokar. And this is an image, if you type in Google Sokar, you'll come up, this image will come up for you. And it's an image of Zep Tepi the first time at Rasto, right? The Giza Plateau. And so we talked about the ancient magnetic equator, and I think, in a way you're looking at it here, right? And it's on the Akhet. You can see the two sphinxes at the bottom. And, it's that moment of complete stillness, knowledge before the splitting of the currents. His name, he's been called, phrases for Sokar is the splendid place at the beginning of time. His place is Rasto at Zep Tepi. And of course, he's that moment when we are resurrected or rejuvenated, right before the rebirth. That's, the raising of the Djed, or the axis of the earth, right? And a lot of people say, okay, Patricia, if we really raise the axis of the earth, everything dies. And, and I've said it before, that's only if you believe everything exists. And we are told over and over again that this is all an illusion. It's a perceptual illusion. And I don't think, we don't think about how we perceive reality enough. We just, live our lives by rote, and we're not really concerned with how we're perceiving the world. We talked about Plato's cave. We talked about, that we're walking the earth upside down and backwards, right? And that the reality exists in the space in between, that we are the shadow of what's happening, what's real. And so we're living this illusion as a pattern on the hero's journey to get us to the place, back to the pause for the rebirth. And as they say, that's over and over again. But
back to that moment of Sokar, the little
exactly when we can have complete gnosis again. But I believe at that moment, we've been told that everything cycles over and over and over again, right? And even the ancients, the ancients said this, and the indigenous say this. Um, but that cycling spirals, everything spirals. So we can spiral up through many dimensions of perception. And that's the key. It's not necessarily, we can choose to keep coming back into the physical 3D dimension, but we can choose to move into other dimensions as well. And that's all part of this story. It is always we are always going to come back to center. That is the way everything moves. We're always, we're spiraling through life, but always moving towards center. That's gravity. That's the attraction to the heart, right? It's magnetism, if you will. But let's keep going, because I'm gonna show you more and more that shows where I'm going with this. But here, as we've talked about before, this depicts not only the annual ceremony of coming back to center, but it's a cycle through the ages, the ending of one world age and the beginning of another, womb to tomb, over and over and over again, and then the rebirth. So again, we talked about the Cat's Eye Nebula, finding our center. There's a Masonic symbol of the compass and the
Square.
the square, thank you, with the I in the center, of course, and it's the G, and the G is the generative force, right? So the I is always at the center, and it falls exactly in the direction of the North Ecliptic Pole, perpendicular to the plane of the solar system. And, that's important because the sun its axis is pointing towards the Cat's Eye Nebula. It's the Earth that's out of whack, right? And Vedic texts tell us that the spine is considered the axis of the universe. So again, it's our spine, it's the Earth's spine, it's the sun's spine, it's the galaxy spine, but even the universe, all spinning around one basic center point, and that is the Holy Grail. And so it's a fractal pattern, and this is what's so important. This is a beautiful image, artwork. And it's of an eclipse, but the eclipse is a metaphor, and it's a pattern within our solar system, but it's showing us something that's that's happening in every breath. This is the point. So the seven-headed dragon here is eating the sun during the eclipse, right? When the sun and the moon come together as one for a moment of silence. Sometimes we watched a full lunar eclipse from our balcony, looking at the pyramids, and it was right over the middle pyramid. It was absolutely gorgeous. And it came to that one moment where they both came together. And the Vedic, in Hindu understanding, I was told that these are moments of where if you place your intentions out into the world, they can come back to you 100-fold. In other words, it's one of those most powerful moments to place your intentions. So I had everybody get up early with me. It was the middle of the night, and we're watching, and suddenly there was a moment where nothing happened, and we just waited, and this was our time to place those intentions. And then, minutes later, suddenly they started to split again, and it was just a beautiful moment. It's a pattern. It's a pattern of the breath of existing in this hero's journey, if you will, the sine wave pattern of life. And also in the Far East mythologies and understandings, it's represented by an inner action between Rahu and Ketu. They're respectively called the north and south lunar nodes. Eclipses occur when the sun and the moon are at one of these points, giving rise to the understanding of swallowing the sun and the moon by the snake. Solar eclipse is caused by Rahu, and lunar eclipse is caused by Ketu. And you see that imagery. We saw it everywhere in Cambodia, and also not quite as often, but in India as well. And it is this moment, of gnosis, Sokar. The two eyes of Horus come together as one eye in a moment of silence. It's the portal to knowing.
It's amazing. It's like balancing both hemispheres of the brain.
Oh, that's exactly it. It's everything we've been talking about. And you'd think I was repeating myself, but I just want to bring all of this in to show you that I didn't just think, see one thing and say, this is how it's there. It's everywhere. And once you see it, you realize that it's always going to be there.
It's all the same fractal pattern. It's based on sacred geometry. It's based on the flower of life.
Exactly. And you realize
Prime numbers, mathematics, yeah.
It can't be any other way. I think you got sick of me saying that all the years that we've known each other. But it's gotten to the point where if I'm looking at something, I know there's a pattern, and I know what the answer is going to be before I even research it. And that's an exciting place to be. But the research always comes up with the same solutions, this same pattern. So Rahu and Ketu are shadows that mirror another cycle. A demon is swallowing the sun and moon. After a moment of silence, they come back out of the demon's belly. In other parts of the world, they are called the dragon's head and tail. I'm going to show you some great pictures of this. In lunar eclipse, the Earth's shadow, umbra, envelops the entirety of the moon. In solar eclipse, moon comes perfectly in between the Earth and the sun, and hence we see the shadow of the moon, right? So you can take this. We could talk about this for hours, but we won't. But it's really beautiful. And then you see the dragon in the center. Yeah. He's always there. So galactic awareness during the pause. Gnosis, know thyself. We currently use only 5% of the capacity of our brains throughout our whole lives. Trofimov experimentation showed that when we spend time inside a space without electromagnetism, in other words, a pause, a moment of silence, our mind's additional reserves and abilities are activated. They saw an increase in memory capacity, increased IQ, and changing zones of electric activity of the brain. When a person is totally shielded from electromagnetism, brain function is in direct correlational dependency, not only with solar energies, but with galactic rays. In other words, it directly opens a conduit to information from the galaxy. It increases cosmic awareness. Does it give us a moment when we realize we are not our bodies? Makes sense, right? We realize we're not our bodies. We are not confined to a time and space reality, and we don't die. There is no death. The ancients of Egypt had no word for death. It was westing, because they knew that the sun would rise again. And I believe that, when we carry this further and we start talking about these cycles of catastrophism, it's not to instill fear. It's to realize and recognize what the ancients were trying to tell us, that when we have the pause, when we have that moment where you would expect catastrophe, everything changes, perception changes, and we breathe another breath. Coat of arms of John Crichton, the third Earl of Erne. When I see these symbols, it's like, there it is again. So I am going to share some of them, because you can see here it's showing you, there's your ecliptic pole again, and the two hemispheres, the two dual opposing currents, the lions, right? The lions.
Literally supporting a crown.
Coming together, the moment of oneness. Right? It's everywhere, folks. You'll start seeing it everywhere, and you'll see this 23.5 degree angle, because
their tails almost even look like two ears, on the side of a skull.
Well, of course it does. And they're also coming dual opposing, and they're coming into each other instead of away from each other. That's coming back to center. And that's the crowning moment. And that's why the king brings the power of God down to earth. See, the kings, they use king symbolism because it all goes back to the ancient times of this, when the kings and the high priests and whatever were doing these Assyrian rituals, and going into those states of complete oneness with everything that is, and then bringing this knowledge back with them.
Do you think Queen Elizabeth did that?
She went through the rituals. See, then now we're in a place where we've been taught by the Hanut. We're going to do a whole presentation on the Hanut or Hanuti, maybe a few. The ancient knowledge has been twisted and now is given to us in probably ways to take us off the path, and it's our challenge to find our way back again. And I think this is why a lot of this symbolism can really help. But no, the rituals, you know, I was talking to somebody today who also feels similarly, and we were talking about how, you know, they probably developed all the rituals which embody all this ancient knowing, but the actual ritual itself, they're given a hokey description of what it's all about, and they sit back and watch everybody go through the motions without knowing what it is they're really doing, if that makes sense. It's actually, the rituals are spiritual. I think we talked about it early on in the presentations. It's the spirit in the stone. The truth is held, you know, it's contained in the ritual, but we have to now take the rituals apart to realize what the truth is. Translate them more or less. So Bes and resurrection. Bes's name was rooted in the word for flame, and thus alludes to the lion-headed figure's role as a defender and occasional hypostasis of the sun god. And hypostatic union refers to being both fully divine and fully human, right? So that's back into that complete oneness. The power of God is within. Bes, with his snakes and his clappers, protected solar rebirth and by extension, human births, the passage of adolescence into manhood, and the renewal of kingship in the Sed festival. From the Middle Kingdom clappers, dancers, birth magic, and this comes from this particular article by Alan Morris. He is there at every beginning and every end of a cycle when heaven and earth are one. He also symbolizes protection during powerful moments of birth and rebirth. Again, that moment of silence, you know, that's an ending and a new beginning. So here's some of that imagery I promised you. That looks like a pretty nasty Bes, right? But 14th century. And so it was said, it's called Hellmouth, all right? Hellmouth, there you have it. Hellmouth is the entrance to hell, envisioned as the gaping mouth of a huge monster, an image which first appears in Anglo-Saxon art and then spread all over Europe, remaining very common in the depictions of the Last Judgment and harrowing of hell until the end of the Middle Ages, and still sometimes used during the Renaissance and after. And this is where I say in red, ancient knowing used to manipulate through fear. And this was what the Hanuti were doing, and it started years and, you know, thousands of years ago. Is this twisting of knowledge. Fear is used to manipulate and control the masses. And the whole concept of hell is created to keep us in fear. And again, we've talked about that many times. So you take something that's a beautiful image that tells us about the patterns of life, right? And you turn it into something evil. You know, look what's going to happen. And it's the same concept. If you look at it, it's tomb and womb, womb and tomb. The portal gives birth to form. He eats and digests the flesh of form to release the spirit from the earth prison. So you see him, you know, in the top, he's eating the body, digestion of the physical, right? Which could be a beautiful thing, but it's not looking very pretty. And then he's regurgitating the body again. It's definitely not a pretty scene.
Well, it's like Sokar.
Well,
not Sokar, excuse me, Sobek.
I was going to say, well, Sobek is. And Sobek is the crocodile, right? And the crocodile is also used to depict Draco, right? On the crocodile on...
Right, you have the crocodile on Toweret's back.
Exactly, which is Draco, right? Which is the dragon of the dragon lore. So, you know, it is the same thing. He is devouring. It's the digestion of the physical by transmuting your polarity. It's a beautiful thing, but again, as time wears on, it becomes used as a tool to create fear. And these are things we also need to be aware of and look out for. Don't believe everything you see and go deeper. We could talk about this forever. You can even see there's a dog. You see him on the side, just like Anubis starting the next
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, you know, it's funny that the truth is hidden in so many of these things, you know, in so much of the dogma and so much, but you know, you have to look deeply to see it and look for the patterns, and then you know there is no death, there is no devil. Um, Everything is just a tool that can be used for good or bad. We make the choice. So again, we've talked about this. This is another image on the far right. Pazuzu is a fearsome hybrid of multiple creatures with a lion-like face, scaly body, scorpion tail, and bird-like talons and wings. Due to his frightening appearance and supernatural strength, he was invoked to protect individuals from other demons who threatened to snatch and devour newborn children. And you can see he's also, his feet are on like an Ouroboros. He's so similar to Bess. And it is the same thing. It's the same thing. And it's the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac we talked about. I think I'm going to show them here in a minute again. The 4 seasons of change and the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And you can look
the 4
at it.
sons of Horus. Yeah.
Exactly. And
on
the 4
and on.
faces of Brahma on the lotus at the top there. Yeah, it can be viewed as good or bad. Womb tomb, moment of gnosis. And there's your beast, right? You see the big dragon mouth open, devouring all the people. You see little devils bringing them into hell, right? But the beast is Draco, and its lair is the circle or cycle of procession that is associated with the Big Dipper. There is no hell except the one we create for ourselves. So yeah, Satan, they say here, Satan is likened to a dragon swallowing the damned, right? It's a story, folks. You know, the dragon is there, and he swallows us as we fall into our lowest state of conscious awareness, right? Because by moving through precession, we move and perception changes because the angles of light hitting, you know, and so many different parts of the pattern, so many different things occur all at once to change our perception of reality, and we are basically no longer thinking and feeling the same way we do now. Imagine that. This is Narasimha, god of protection, destruction, yoga, and Kala, time itself. He's the destroyer of evil and fear. Looks like Bess, doesn't he? I like these guys. Habamba. In ancient Mesopotamian religion, Habamba, also spelled Hawawa, was surnamed the Terrible. He was a monstrous giant of immemorial age, raised by Utu the sun. His face is that of a lion. When he looks at someone, it is the look of death, right? Habamba's roar is a flood. His mouth is death, and his breath is fire. Same idea, right? And what is fire? But it's the purification, it's the digestion again of the physical. It's everywhere. So, god of protection, destruction, yoga, and Kala, time, the destroyer of evil and fear. Narasimha is described is described to be a god of destruction, he who destroys the entire universe at the time of the great dissolution. Hence, he is known as Kala or Mahakala, great time, or Parakala, beyond time, in his epithets. So yeah, and I have that beautiful image. It's an Egyptian alabaster vase, if you will, but it's showing you the Simatawi with Hapi on either side. And this is again that breath of life that we've talked about. We've shown you the Simatawi many times now, and I think what's interesting too, and I'm going to have this in the next slide, is you see the cobras on top are wearing the white crown or the red crown, right? The two. They're showing you the polarity that also the lotus and the papyrus show you as well, the dual opposing charges in the great breath of life. Reversal occurs at a moment of resonance. This is really important. Here you can really see that this is the red crown and this is the white crown of Upper and Lower Egypt. So we're sort of looking at, that's that place where they come together and separate again.
At a moment of resonance, I just have this feeling that the entire universe is going to ring like a gong.
Yeah, it will. It will. Yeah, we are getting very close to this moment, and I think this is why we're doing these podcasts. We have a lot to present, and then we're really going to get to the punchline, which is very exciting, and it's about this moment in time. So here we've shown this before in recent presentations, but it's so powerful because it's the same thing. It's that here is your Simatawi, there is your heaven and hell, right? And it's a breath of life, right? At the bottom, you see the hostages, right? They're in hell. They're in hell. They're held hostage by a belief that they are their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we want to release. We want the digestion of the physical so that we can spread our wings and fly, right?
And that belief that your body is just fear, really. It's fear of death.
Exactly. It's all these core beliefs that, yes, the fear of death and the fear of a final judgment, that complete death, if our heart it weighs heavier than a feather, that is just an earth-shattering belief, and it literally directs all your choices in life from the moment that you have that core belief instilled in you.
Well, a fear of death is really a fear of life, if you think about it.
It is, because every decision, we are dual beings. We have a positive and negative. We have a white wolf and a dark wolf, as you brought up in the last presentation. They're inside us, and our challenge on the journey, the hero's journey, is sine wave, right? We go through the domes of heaven and hell, up and down and up and down, and learning how to transmute that, to understand the patterns and to find our peace, when there is chaos, and really relish the bliss when there's not.
Yeah.
And harnessing all that and finding the resonance allows you to change your reality in any given breath. And here we have, it's in the Bible, folks. They're Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. These four cardinal signs of the zodiac. The human is Aquarius, the lion is Leo, the bull is Taurus, and the eagle is Scorpio. And there it was, there in ancient Egypt. That was ancient knowing, and you see it everywhere. And there you see the womb in the center on the image on the right at the top. And he's holding the book of wisdom. He's in the center, and it's, he's sitting on the throne, right?
In the Vesica Pisces, in the space between.
Right, that's the moment of silence. So yeah, the secret history of the world, the four cherubim are among the most powerful symbols in the Bible, appearing in key passages in Ezekiel, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Revelation. Popular in Hebrew and Christian iconography, prominent in church art and architecture everywhere, they are symbolized by the ox, the lion, the eagle, and the angel. In esoteric teaching, these four cherubim are the great spiritual beings behind the 4 of the 12 constellations that make up the zodiac. And so, as we said, and then, we talked about the Ark of the Covenant, and here it is. It's sitting on the throne. It's that moment of silence, right? It's the heart at the center. It's the Holy Grail, right? And
riding the mare.
Right. It's the moment of end and beginning. It's all about electromagnetism, and we're going to get into that as well. This is an image from the Coptic Museum here in Cairo, in Old Cairo, actually. And it's a beautiful image because you see him sitting on the throne in the heaven with the 4 cardinal signs. So right in heaven, with the 2 cherubim on either side, the angels, rather. And then underneath you see Mary holding the baby Jesus underneath, sitting on the throne, the masculine and the feminine, right? Very, very fascinating. Earthbound, heavenbound, as above, so below. Yep, it's everywhere. There's the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Which horse are we at now? We'll tell you soon. It's the Wheel of Fortune card in the tarot deck, right? In the major arcana. It's the card 20. And, you know, it is, you know, which way is the wheel spinning? Where are we at? What hour is it? What state of consciousness? Um,
Just
and
just look up. It's a giant clock in the sky.
exactly. The Greek apocalypse literally means an unhiding or unveiling or revelation. It's an end and a new beginning.
Mm.
And it's the moment of gnosis, revelation. It all becomes clear to us, right? We all want clarity, right? We want to
Which
know.
is the symbolism of Aquarius pouring the knowledge
Yes,
out of the containers, right?
that's it. And we're really going to get into that very soon. And I can hardly wait. There's just so much.
No more
Um,
secrets.
yeah, no more secrets. So this image is on the toward the ceiling, on the ceiling in the tomb of Seti I and the Valley of the Kings. It's iconic. It's amazing. And there you see there is our Taret or Ethet with the crocodile Draco on her back, and she's holding the mooring post, right? The eye of the dragon. I just love this stuff. And that mooring post, look at the key, right? The key to opening the gate between form and formless realms. It's spinning, right? You've got the bull on it, which is the Big Dipper, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the bull's spinning to tell us what state, you know, what state of consciousness we're in. What hour is it? Where is Horus? Yeah, we could talk about a lot here, but we'll keep going. I'm going to show this image again, but I want to bring it here first. Everything changes at the 6th hour and the midnight hours. These are the portals of the pause. You can see the 2 clocks here, and you see the 6 and the 12. This is the symbol of infinity, the never-ending cycles. But the point at the center is at 6 and 12 o'clock. And right now we are basically at 6. We'll talk more about this, I promise. Same with this symbol, introducing it for the first time, very important symbol. These are the keys that open the gates to a new perception of reality. We have the silver key that opens the silver gate. We have the golden key that opens the golden gate. And in the center again is the pause. And you notice how the bottom, the key are the wombs, they're circles.
Mm-hmm.
And the top of the key are birthing boxes. Fascinating symbolism.
Oh my God.
And of course, the crown at the top. This is an emblem of the Vatican. And it's just beautiful. You see the dual opposing currents.
Well, isn't it also, you know, a model of the skull? If you have 2 eyes, your left eye is connected to your right brain and your right eye is connected to the left brain.
Yep. Connected to the third eye, the portal to all that is.
Mm.
Absolutely. And so I'm going to go into great detail about what this means very soon. I relate it to the ceiling at Dendera, which tells the story of the infinity symbol as well, tells us the cycles. And it tells us that the silver gate, the silver key opens the silver gate, and it is from Capricorn to Cancer. And the golden key that opens the golden gate is from Aquarius to Leo. That is the portal we're at now. But as I promise you, we're going to go into great detail. And again, just a tease here, I'm going to show this again in future presentations. But this is really fascinating if you understand how our zodiac works. Because at the top here, the very top, you see the image of the body, right? In the center. But at the top, you have Leo and Cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
The sun and the moon.
The sun and the moon. And what, you know, together, the sun rules gold and the moon rules silver. And silver and gold create what? Electrum. And they say electrum was at the top of the pyramid. Again, this is just huge stuff, and I promise you we'll talk more about it. But what's really fascinating, and I think I've mentioned this before, as you move down from this center at the top, right, you go to either side. On the right side we have Gemini, and on the left side we have Virgo, and both are ruled by Mercury, the planet closest to the sun. You go down another level and you have Taurus and Venus, right? And Taurus and Taurus and Libra, I'm sorry, both ruled by Venus. And you go down another level and you have Pisces and, no, sorry, Aries and Scorpio, both ruled by Mars. You go down another level and there you have Pisces and Sagittarius, both ruled by Jupiter. And at the bottom you have Saturn, right? You have Capricorn and Pisces, both ruled by Saturn. And Saturn rules lead. How do you turn lead into gold? And that is the Aquarius Leo portal. This is huge, folks. It's where we're at now. And that's why this is so hugely important. We're at the key, the Golden Gate. We're just about ready to enter this gate. And it's a huge moment in our perception of reality.
Do you think this is like a tongue-in-cheek joke among alchemists about turning lead into gold?
Actually, I think the knowledge was lost. I don't think people are starting to awaken. People that are responding to these podcasts are writing to me, and when are you going to talk about the Aquarius portal? It's like, they know it's coming. The Aquarius Leo portal. It's what Sekhmet represents, and she is that. And again, I want to save this for when we really get into it. But
Right.
She has the lion head in the human body of Aquarius, and the lion head of Leo. There is a neter or a god in the Hindu mythology that also has the lion head in the human body, represents this same portal. Elizabeth, who we talked about, as spent a lot of time, or maybe, I don't know, but anyway, telling me about, when I told her about this, she's like, oh my gosh, we have the same thing in the Hindu mythology. So, this is an ancient knowing that I think obviously so much of this was lost, or we were misdirected. And it's part of, it's all part of the pattern. We devolved. The more we become attached to our bodies, the more we're interested in football and beer and you know what I mean. We're just not focused on finding our inner truth.
Right, too grounded in the physical.
But this is the moment we really need to. And Aquarius is about that. Aquarius is all about dumping the water out of the container, as she said. And we're ready. So yeah, here again, I keep showing the Aztec calendar, but it's all contained in here. Here is Bess in your center, your 4 seasons. There's the birthing box where the 2 dragons come, the beginning and the end, the great he, she. I have showed this again recently, but again, at the center of Draco, here we are at the pineal, right? The portal to knowing, all knowing.
And doesn't that look like the Vatican crown? With the
Doesn't it? That's why I put it here. Actually, it's like, all right, you guys have to. I have more imagery coming. That's why it's so hard to do these presentations. I just want to keep putting this stuff in because it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And again, right at the crown, the dual opposing, waveform on either side, and coming out here, the dual opposing waveform. It's just beautiful digestion of the physical. The 2 eyes coming together at the point. Yeah.
When you know the symbolism, you can just read it like a book.
You're going to see it everywhere. And you had mentioned the North Pole, right? Have you been naughty or nice? It's best, folks. You can see in the image on the far right, this is at the top. This is at Philae, actually. I looked up once and I was blown away because I thought I saw Santa Claus. And he has that beard and those big chubby cheeks.
And you have to understand, the ancient Egyptians loved Bes. He was like their god of partying down.
Exactly. And he's at the top of pillars, right? The pillar, at the very top. This is so important. And again, we say the North Pole and we think it's the North Pole of Earth. We just say, look up there, Santa Claus lives up there in the snow. But it's really the ecliptic pole that we're talking about. So that's how knowledge evolves, and we lose sight of what's real. And Bess is, have you been naughty or nice? Are you going to get coal or are you going to get a gift? you know, at the end in the new beginning. You know, it's really our choice. It's just fascinating if you think about it. So yeah, I love this image. It's on a big resonance box in the Egyptian Museum, but you see Bess with his arms spread out and with the wings standing on the birthing box, and he's just beautiful. You know, that's what we're all looking for, complete freedom. Check this out. This is a beautiful image. And this is from the Lion's Roar, who does a lot of social media posting. And he says he symbolizes the one who proceeds from the clash of opposites. And of course, we know this to be true. And in the image, you have the sun and the moon, right, on either side, the two eyes of Horus of the sun and the moon coming together, womb tomb. And, you know, they try and make the skull a symbol of evil, and the skull exists within your body. How can it be evil, right?
Yeah.
How can it be evil? How could it ever be a bad symbol? But
well, it's literally the temple that holds, you know, your seat of consciousness.
it literally is. And we showed where it was even the skull is the symbol of Om.
Mm-hmm.
When we were in India, we discovered that from Tamil Nadu. So yeah, I love that here we have angels on the top and bats on the bottom, and our 23.5 degree angle within the Ouroboros. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. This image is very popular, but you see this at Edfu, the one on the left rather, sorry. It's the image of Horus, and he's slaying the beast, right? And the beast here, you know, is said to be Bes. And Hakim used to say, you know, this is a game of the priests. You know, it's not true. You do not slay the beast. But it's symbolically what's happening here is something even more profound. And I'll get into that in a second. But this is just so cool. At the height of the seven kings' power in the apocalypse imagery of the book of Revelation, they are depicted as a red seven-headed dragon, which is what, since the beginning of the subtle serpent of Eden has become. Our ancestors believed that long ago, the beginning of our world was secured by the slaying of a seven-headed dragon of chaos. Set was known to be what? The netter of chaos, right? And so I am comparing this, what he's slaying here, which is a hippopotamus, right? Now, what did we say Taret was, who has Draco on her back,
right? Hippopotamus.
Right, she's connected to the spin of the circumpolar stars, right? So we're talking about, you know, that this beginning of the world begins by slaying the seven-headed dragon. Again, dissolution, digestion of the physical. So, and these images come from Edfu. I don't know if I mentioned that. And so what I noticed as I was looking at all these images, there's several as you go across this wall, and it's on an outer wall that goes around, that encloses the inner temple. And what's interesting is I noticed that this hippopotamus is moving. It changes position, and it's literally, at one point you see it upside down. It's basically turning around just like the circumpolar stars. And that's when it dawned on me that the hippo was Taret in a way. It is Set, because there is a mythology that Horus, when he's battling Set, takes the leg of the bull and throws it across the heavens, and it basically ends up in the circumpolar stars, and that's the Big Dipper. So there you have it, folks. By slaying the beast, he is ending one world age, the dissolution of the physical, so that we can come back to gnosis. This is what Horus is all about. He's wearing the double crown, that moment of coming back into oneness. So we have our moment, the earth comes back to the ecliptic pole. We have our moment of silence, and it's a new beginning. After the moment of silence, the 3 moments of silence. It's a stopping of the flow. It's a stopping of the pattern. Here's your serpent. And, you know, this is the beginning. You see the Egyptian imagery? You know, he's slaying the crocodile, Draco, right? slaying the serpent on the and oftentimes the donkey was related to Set, by the way, a beast of burden, which is what, you know, when you're spirit enclosed in form, this is what we become, right?
Yeah, what about Saint George and the dragon?
Well, this is what I was saying. It starts this imagery that becomes this really famous. We see it in Christian imagery. We see it, you know, the saints. You see Bartholomew. There's, I think there's a Theodore. There's, you know, they're all slaying the dragon, and the dragon is Draco.
Saint
Right?
Michael also, right?
Saint Michael. I was just going to say Saint Michael as well. So yes, thank you. Yeah, I have more. Of course, this is again the ancient Egyptian. This is Ra slaying the dragon, so to speak, cutting the cord on the patterns that hold us hostage in a belief that we are our bodies. Right. Here's the Horus Simatawi, United of the Two Lands, taming of the beast. This is what it's all about. You tame the beast. You stop the dragon, right, that's spinning in the heavens, and we have our moment of silence. We transmute our polarity. Here it is again, St. George and the dragon, slaying the beast. It's beautiful. And you can see the bodies. It's kind of interesting. And then we're not really told. We're told that he's slaying the beast, right, killing the evil, so that the world can be wonderful again. But that would be if you equate life with evil, you know, or on a different level, it's, you know, we've devolved into such a state that we need to slay the beast so we can start over again. So many different ways to look at it. And then the female in the background, you know. Hey, next cycle is the feminine. St. George and Garuda slay the beast. So Garuda also slays the beast, as you
Well,
can
when
see.
you say the next cycle is the feminine, doesn't that mean, that doesn't mean women ruling over men? That means
No.
everybody in perfect balance.
It's you know, the masculine patriarchal cycle is mind based, right? So we always said the mind is the matrix, and the feminine is the heart. So it's the heart based, which is at the center. So we still are out of balance, but we're out of balance in a more peaceful way. But even that is not, you know, it's transmutation of both. It's the moment of silence we're all looking for. That is total bliss. That's what people having near-death experiences talk about when they come back. It's like, I had that moment of complete bliss, you know, and then we either, you know, we fall into the mind-based paradigms of separation consciousness, or we fall into the matriarchal heart-based unity consciousness, which is where you feel connected to everything that is, and you know how to harness the forces of nature. It's like two different ways of experiencing reality.
So there really is a choice to make.
Always.
A conscious decision.
We could change our patterns now, and this is why I always say, you know, open your chest and show your heart. We're so afraid to show our true selves, and that's what we've come to. We're so afraid of each other. We've lost our freedom to be who we are. And in unity consciousness, I already feel you. I know who you are. And, you know who I am. So there is no hiding the truth. So you can be who you are. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just by the basic nature of being heart-based, there can be no lies. There can be no stealing. There can be, because everybody knows. So you live in peace and harmony, because it can't be any other way. So maybe some people find that boring and they'd rather come back to the more physical.
Well, it's just like the character in The Matrix who decided to betray everybody and stay plugged in.
Exactly. Which pill do you want? We keep trying both. We have to experience both in order to transmute, to accept both within us. We are Beauty and the Beast. We're all those things. And once we accept that we're all those things, we can find our center. Here's another one, Indara, or Andrew, slaying the dragon from a Hittite seal about 2000 BC. Slay the dragon. I love this. I saw this posted recently online, and I had it in my files. And it's beautiful. It's an Etruscan votive comb, and you can see there's Bess in the center of these two geese coming together, right? And they're forming a heart shape at the top, and they have the wings, and basically it's the coming together of the current. And there's
And it looks like the Ark of the Covenant,
doesn't it?
And there's Bess.
Exactly. It's just fascinating. So, feathered serpent of Aztec myth, Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl.
Thank you. Once you say things, it's funny. Once you get something in your head, you tend to just repeat it forever.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and I know what your pronunciation is right. But anyway, he is believed to be the creator of man and the dividing deity between earth and the heavens. And he's spitting out the dual, right? He has the split tongue, right? That is showing that that dual expression.
Wow, we love Bess. Bess is the best.
Well, you love him now, especially when you know what he represents. He's Santa Claus.
But they really loved him in ancient Egypt. He was their household deity. They had images of him everywhere, on everything.
Well, protector of children and pregnant mothers. And I often say he's the child's first invisible friend. All part of the dynamic pattern. It's fractal. It's bizarre. And I think, too, Alan, that all of this is in our DNA. All of this ancient knowing is there, through ancestral lineage.
Mm-hmm.
So, we recognize these patterns. You can't help but have this within you.
All that junk DNA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
anything but junk.
anything but junk, exactly. And I think that's part of this awakening. The dumping of the cup of Aquarius, the dumping of the container. All of that is going to allow us to experience the knowing again.
Just come back to this understanding of what we really are.
Yep.
And what this really is. Anyway, I think we should leave it there.
I think so too. Yeah.
Thanks everybody for watching. Our website is horusrising.com. We will be back for a lot more very soon. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks, Patricia.
Thanks, Alan.